The Raiders keep stealing players from the LA Chargers and have completed their wide receiver room. They also plan to visit the pro day of one of the most athletic QBs coming into the NFL draft. And Mark Davis had some weird comments to say about his general manager and also denied our earlier report this season that he did kick out fans who had signs that criticized Josh McDaniels. We're going to break down everything that's going on. I'm a little sick right now, so bear with me and hit that red subscribe button to keep supporting this channel. So the Raiders have completed their wide receiver room and they have signed DeAndre Carter from the LA Chargers. And this guy filled in heavily last year. They had a bunch of injuries at the wide receiver position and Carter ended up being a primary target for Justin Herbert. I think this guy is a very explosive playmaker, showed his ability to make plays in the red zone as well, and also can be somebody that you use on special teams, punt return, kick return. And I find this move really interesting, coupled with the fact that the Raiders already signed Jacoby Myers earlier this year. They already have Devontae Adams, and now Hunter Renfrow looks like he's the guy on the outside looking in. The Raiders could still move on from Hunter Renfrow, but it would have to be a post-June 1st trade. I think that's the only way they'd be able to pull this off, eating $6 million in dead money this year, $5 million the next year, but saving $6 million this year and also just clearing up a roster spot. And the reason why this seems like more of a possibility, more of a reality, is not only the Jacoby Myers signing, but also the DeAndre Carter signing. Take a look at it right here. In terms of slot snaps, 59% of DeAndre Carter's snaps were in the slot, only 39% were at wide receiver. So this guy, is pretty much a slot receiver, and he also does a lot of special teams, and that's kind of right up Hunter Renfrow's alley. So I feel like with Jacoby Myers, with DeAndre Carter, the fact that Hunter Renfrow was unavailable last year and is sort of a player that is kind of foreign to Josh McDaniels, seems like this signing is going to have a huge consequence on the roster. And that would suck if it happens because I love Hunter Renfrow. I think he's a great player, but I also think DeAndre Carter is a great player, and I think the Raiders are getting him at a good price, $2.3 million, kind of making Mac Hollins money based off what happened last year. And he's about 29 years old. I think this guy has a lot of upside. Another dude who's been recently given a larger role on a team and showed that he could ball out, and now he's getting an opportunity with the Raiders. And Carter will be the second player that the Raiders have stolen from the Chargers. The former first-round pick from the Chargers, Jerry Tillery, we mentioned earlier this offseason, signed a 2-year contract with the Raiders after being plucked from the Chargers just this past season, during the midseason actually. After week 7, he ended up joining the Raiders and played about, 8 games with the Raiders this past season. And it seems like the Raiders feel like they've gotten something with Tillery, and so hopefully we can take advantage of the Chargers making the wrong moves. And the Raiders are going to visit Anthony Richardson. They're going to visit his pro day in Florida this Thursday on March 30th. And we know that they visited CJ Stroud's pro day. We know that they themselves, meaning Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, did not visit Will Levis's pro day, but they had dinner with him the day before, and they also had Champ Kelly at Will Levis's pro day. Now, this doesn't mean exactly that the Raiders are going to draft, Anthony Richardson just because they're appearing at his pro day, but I do believe they have interest in the guy. They went to that game between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Florida Gators when they went to face the Tennessee Titans last season in September. I think they've had their eyes on him or Hendon Hooker for a long time, but Anthony Richardson is younger, more athletic than Hooker, higher upside, but Hendon Hooker, I believe, is the better quarterback today when he's healthy. And I think it's pretty obvious, even if you just watch that Florida Gators versus Tennessee Volunteers game, it's obvious who the better passer is today. But I do think if the Raiders really believe in Jimmy Garoppolo and they really believe that he is going to be the starter for at least 2 years, then I think it would make sense to have a project like Anthony Richardson, a guy that you could develop over 2 seasons, and then eventually have the most athletic QB in the whole entire division, which is insane when you have Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Justin Herbert in that same division. And Josh McDaniels was asked about the prospect of drafting Jalen Carter during an interview, during the press conference, and of course he said, oh, we're open to everything, we're open to everybody. Obviously, he's not going to immediately write off Jalen Carter just because he's gotten in some trouble in the news lately. But let me know in the comments, would you rather the Raiders take Anthony Richardson at pick 7 or Jalen Carter? Let me know in the comments below, Carter or Richardson. And Mark Davis, the Raiders owner, the guy carrying the torch for the Davis family, was finally asked about GM Dave Ziegler. And this comes after he did some interviews, asked about Derek Carr, talked about how he apologized to Derek Carr. And now when assessing, his team, assessing Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, he's had some weird comments lately. Now, not only this comment, but he's had some other ones where he basically said in plain language that he just hired hires people to do the job, and whatever they do, and that he did not have to green light the Derek Carr move because he lets the coaches do whatever they want to do. But to me, it sounds like, and call me crazy, he's trying to distance himself from Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler and say, hey, whatever they got going on, whatever they do, I just hire them to do the job. So whatever. The results are what they are, and we'll determine whether or not they're going to be the future based on the results, right? So Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, people try to act like they're cozy. You only had a 4-year contract. You're in year 2 of a 4-year contract. I think that the seat is getting hot, and you have Mark Davis saying Dave is young and has never been in this position before. It takes time to learn all the tricks of the trade. I think the people he confides in might not be giving him the full picture because it's so damn competitive, but he's going to be doing great. Now, okay. We need to focus on this one weird ass sentence here. I think we definitely need to focus on this. So Mark Davis, and I don't know if the fact that Marcel Reese has stepped down, maybe Mark Davis doesn't have enough people prepping him on what to say in these interviews. I think Mark Davis is kind of speaking out of line here and maybe shouldn't have said this. I think the people he confides in, so the people around Ziegler who he confides in, might not be giving him the full picture. So they're not telling him the truth. The people he confides in, they're not telling him the reality of everything that's going on, the full picture, because it's so damn competitive, because the job of being a GM is so hard and so stressful. I just find this very odd for him to say, and it almost seems like he's kind of characterizing Ziegler as struggling right now because the job is new. So I don't know if Mark Davis is doing this to sort of light a fire under Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, or maybe he's trying to convey to the fans that these guys are struggling right now. He just hired them to do the job and we'll see how they do, but it's a tough job and they're new at it. You take whatever you want to take from that. But Mark Davis was asked about one of the more controversial things that happened, which we documented last season. We had a fan on the show talk about the fact that Mark Davis, according to the security guard who threatened to kick him out if he did not put away this sign that said, keep Carr, bench McDaniels, basically is what this sign was saying.
You can see it plain as day where I was at. Well, Mark Davis was over there. Long story short, security said it came from the top of the top. The sign had to get put away or I was getting removed from the stadium.
The fan was told that he would have to leave unless he put the sign away, and it came from the highest of highs, and he could see Mark Davis from afar watching this process. And that's what the fan claimed. And on top of that, you had another guy who we did speak to privately, who everybody saw get kicked out because he had his sign saying to bench McDaniels, and this went viral on Twitter. In addition to that, we've had other fans talk about different events at Allegiant, where this one guy had a shirt that said F McDaniels, but it was spelled out and bleeped out with a Raiders shield. And he was told to put the shirt away or he would be asked to leave. But Mark Davis, however, denies kicking out fans, saying that he didn't tell anybody to kick somebody out of the effing stadium. Are you kidding me? I would never do that. That's not me, and it pisses me off. I would never take on our fans because I'm a fan. So Mark Davis asked about kicking out people due to the negative signs. Look, here's the truth. Whether Mark Davis wants to admit it or not, somebody who works for the Raiders or Allegiant Stadium told at least 3 different fans who we have talked to that they were going to be asked to leave unless they put their negative signs or merchandise away. Now, is this Mark Davis? Who knows? Mark Davis tries to say that he tried to get Marcel Reese to find out about it, who has recently resigned, seems like maybe pushed out of a job from Mark Davis. And there was a lot of this, points fingers in opposite directions, but it wasn't effing me. And I made it clear that's not the way the Raiders do things. Well, we had a Patriots fan who got yelled at by a Raiders fan, and he was given season tickets or something from Allegiant Stadium, given a lot of perks from the Raiders, an apology from Sandra Douglas Morgan. If Mark Davis wants to apologize to the fans who have been kicked out, who have been threatened to be kicked out, well, we have 3 of them right now that we could contact tomorrow if he would like to do that, if he really was not involved in that. But from what they were told is that somebody from the Raiders told them that they would be kicked out unless they put the signs away, and the security said it came from the highest of the highs. Maybe that wasn't Mark Davis, but from what it sounds like, seems like it. But I get it that Mark Davis wants to deny this. He wants the fans to love the Raiders again, and I find this pretty interesting that Mark Davis is simultaneously trying to deny that he's kicking out fans and also simultaneously distancing himself from Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. Remember towards the end of last season, people tried to even say that Mark Davis was the reason that Derek Carr got benched because he didn't want to pay the injury guarantees. You had people in the media try to push those rumors out there, but Mark Davis is clearly trying to say he hires them to do the job and the results speak for themselves. So it seems like Mark, with apologizing to Derek Carr, distancing himself from this front office, trying to say he did not kick out fans, seems like he's trying to restore Raiders fans' faith in the franchise. But I think the only way he truly does that if he lets the results of this season speak for themselves with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler.
By the time that first chemotherapy session starts, it'll be like Sunday morning waking up and getting ready to kick someone's ass.
Foster Moreau commenting about his situation, diagnosed with cancer, and that's his new battle now as he's stepping away from the NFL after having his last season with the Las Vegas Raiders after being drafted by the Raiders in 2019, did visit the Saints, and then also under the radar did visit the Raiders facility recently. We're not sure what's going to go on there. You know, hopefully he's able to get some sort of compensation to help pay for his treatment, since right now he's technically not employed by the NFL since he had his last season with the Raiders last year. Either way, shout out to Foster Moreau. Hope everything goes well with him. I know you guys are all rooting for him as well. But we'll see what happens with the Raiders. Hopefully they kick ass in this upcoming NFL draft. Like this video if you have not yet, and subscribe to this channel for more Raiders content. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.